Okay, so this is part two. I just really want Murad to finish his questions list. There's one question left, so I'm gonna wait for him to pop on here. There you are. Okay, there you are. Let's invite you over. Invite. Okay. All right.
Right.
There you are.
I can't
Okay,
believe you're all
awesome.
joining back. What's wrong
I
with everyone?
know.
Nothing.
That's
You know, I just realized while I was waiting, there's this scarf here. Let me actually
Oh,
flip the
I
camera. I
know
don't know
this.
if you've
I
heard
know
about
this
this.
scarf.
Yeah, so my mom found it. Of course, it's for those who don't know, it's an Hermes scarf. I'm like giving them
Yes.
like free promotion here, uh, but it's a Caucasus Hermes scarf, which was shocking to us. I mean, look at this. Look at these
Right.
designs. It was literally a scarf that Hermes, and people who don't know Hermes is like a very high-end brand, super
Right.
specialty brand. And they did look, it says of the Caucasus, the Caucasus. And I'm like, we were shocked. And apparently there's just a designer there that was like, look at this. That was like very enthralled by how beautiful the culture was, and my mom bought it and she framed it. She doesn't use it because she was just so
Of
proud
course.
that there was something out there that had this. Yes, I that's right. My mom got one for Nancy Elias as a wedding gift.
Oh,
Yeah,
best gift
uh,
ever. I
yeah,
think
it
it's
was.
because of the horse tradition, the horse culture.
Yeah,
So
there
I
it is.
think it's commemorating just the horsemanship. I was obsessed when it came out. I
Oh,
never
so you
ended
know
up
about
getting
it?
one.
That's
I
great.
do.
That's
Oh,
great. Oh my God, that's
I
so
know.
great.
My manager actually at the time when I was working at a firm in Orange County, he was like, "Noor, you're gonna love this. I have something for it," and it blew my mind. I think I stared at my screen
Yeah.
like for hours. I was like,
It
"I
blew
can't
my mind
believe
too.
this is
I
happening."
remember going to the store and then pulling it out, and I was like, "This is
Oh,
insane." I was like,
I
"That was
know.
insane to see it." Like I was going to an Hermes store. I think we had to
I
go to like
know.
Riverside Square Mall. Like this, it's like next to Gucci and Louis Vuitton,
I
and
know.
and and
So cool.
pulled out this, and they're like, "It's like you like this design?" We're like, "Yeah, we're like from here," and they're like, "Oh, really?"
It's me. It's
They're
me.
like, they just we're so excited because they're like, it's not like there's people walking in and be like, "Oh yeah."
I
This
know.
the caucus scarf, yeah, that one.
Right.
Like
No,
they don't
what an
they don't know anything.
heirloom.
Yeah,
What a
what an heirloom.
family
So
heirloom.
true.
I mean,
Yeah,
whew,
yeah,
that's a beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
Yeah. Now if you try to get one, it's like
Yes,
impossible. It'll be like
yeah.
thousands of dollars. So if you got to
Did you hear
snag
that,
one at that
Nancy?
time, yeah.
Keep it and sell it later.
Yes, girl. Put that in the treasure box. Okay, I did want to do just this last question.
Sure,
I feel
sure.
like I would love to hear what you have to say about it.
Mhm.
Do you think culture could play a part in coping with anxiety, grief, sadness, or depression?
Oh, absolutely. I loved this question actually because I've dealt with all of these, and I'm very open about this kind of stuff. When I moved to California, I went through clinical depression after a while because I was such like I grew up in the community my whole life. I was
Right.
always surrounded by people who knew me and such a big social circle that I found so I guess I took it for granted at the time. And when you move to another as you would know, I'm sure, I mean, you've moved a lot in your life, and
Yeah.
you feel leaving even from New Jersey to California, even to Orange County, it is such you, they look at New Jersey as this like this cultural hotspot of Circassians, right? And the
Right.
way we do our weddings, it's gotten so massive that people from Kafkaz are like shocked that what we do, and I'm like, I'm shocked when I see it. That I
Yeah.
just came, Abdullah. If if Raya's watching, I just Abdullah's wedding. I mean, they were coming out with their their damaras on, and I'm like, it's amazing to see how we've almost become more cultural over time. And when you're kind of thrusted out of that and you're kind of dropped in a transplant, and I speak openly about it because I think we don't speak about mental health enough. We're always quick to say when we have, when we're sick with the flu, cold, when we're hurt, but we never talk about. It's almost like it's a stigma, and it is a stigma. It's like you can't ever say when like your brain is sick, or, your head is sick.
Right. Right.
And I was diagnosed with clinical depression. And I didn't realize it. I had friends tell me it was actually Nancy's brother Murad, who was an integral part of
Right.
helping me, figure out, that maybe you should talk to someone. And it's a hard thing to say because it's almost
Right.
like implied like you're stupid or like you're weak. And
Right.
it's not that at all. It's really not that at all. It's just, you just don't realize if we can remove that stigma around it, then you're way more likely to go get help before it and prevent further illness and anxiety and all this kind of stuff that comes along the ride, because you have this chemical imbalance in your brain, and
Mm.
sometimes it really needs to be treated.
Right.
So for me, like my culture, I look at it helped me a lot. It also hurt. It also gave me anxiety a lot of the times when you're in this like
Wow.
very cultural setting that is very stubborn to evolve. I mean, I dealt with that a lot as a coach, and as I said before, and so for me, I only had anxiety and depression when I was teaching too, because uh, I was the youngest teacher at the time. I was kind of thrusted into this environment, and I was young myself, and I was coaching and instructing a whole bunch of people that were around my age or older. That
Right.
became, I went from friend to coach overnight, and
Right.
to draw that line when they're also your age is it's tough.
Mm.
It's not
Right.
easy, and I think people just assume like coaches and directors are they're just infallible. They just can take it all. We're humans too. Like
Right.
it's a lot for me to have done what I did, and my ideas, and I have to then report to a board of people that are all not
Elders. Yeah.
elders, and there's that very set way of traditionalists that they didn't grow up like you did. They come from a different society, and at the same time, everyone, I think, intentionally has the intentions to do good. And I don't think anyone sets out to make anyone's lives harder because they just want to be evil, you know? No,
Right.
I think, it's just like, how do we communicate how we get to this point without making it about that? And that comes with mental health issues sometimes, and that pressure to feel like, maybe I am doing something wrong. Maybe I'm taking it too far. And you got to kind of, as an artistic director, these kind of things, like you do have to take those risks and do what you believe in, while at the same time respecting the opinions and people around you. And I want people to realize that, growing up this way allowed me to have all the friends I do today, and the memories. And just yesterday, for example, this is so amazing of a question because just yesterday I had a friend of mine who's he's an Asian American,
Mm.
and he had a birthday, and there was 20 of us at a hibachi restaurant.
Okay.
And the two hibachi chefs, one of them looked at us and he goes, "How do you all know each other?" And we get this a lot because anytime we go to a restaurant, we're like 15 strong. It's a lot. It's like and
Yeah.
Circassians are like we always Nancy, right, those people on this call. Whenever we go to like a restaurant, it's like we always have a big number. And
Right.
when I moved to California, they were like, "That's amazing how many people you have in your social circle." And that guy was saying, he's like, "How do you all know each other?" And I looked around, it's like, "Yeah, he was an Asian American. He's our friend. We look at him as
Mm.
just as much a family as anyone else."
Right.
But all of the rest of us, it's mostly Circassians, and like we all know each other from a community center in New Jersey, and if not all of us had gone there our whole lives, like we were connected in some way by the fact
Mm.
that that was there, and we all lived nearby, right?
Mm.
And I find that such a fortunate thing in my life. At the same time, there's a balance to everything, right? I didn't learn much about other cultures for that reason. Everyone had the same kind of ideals when you walked in someone's home, right? You all ate the same kind of food. So when you go from that your entire life and then go to California, and I'm alone, I'm being moved there for work, and I don't know anyone now. I mean, I
Right.
didn't know a single person. And I was going to this new job and I had no idea about anything. And I had to adapt to different ways of thinking, different ways of eating, different ways of doing things that I
Mm.
realized that I had to also kind of change about myself. And it got me really sad, like, that I didn't have my friends were always going out every weekend and I wasn't there anymore.
Mhm.
And I was just like alone. You got to make new
Yeah.
friends, you got to make a new life. And so in a way it can help you cope. Is like your friends are still there for you. You're so fortunate to have them in your life. And when I was going into filmmaking, and I held an Indiegogo campaign for my a crowdfunding campaign for my thesis film, and I
Mm.
had the most successfully funded film in my entire school. And
Wow.
Indiegogo came in and they had a talk about how to raise money. And they said the number one factor to raising money is having your own network. And
Wow.
I said, wow. And I said, that is why it's not because I was necessarily better than my colleagues. I don't look at it that way. I looked at it
Mm.
as like, I just knew more people than they did. And it's because I'm Circassian. It's because I
Yeah.
grew up in this community. And as soon as the dance coach put up that he's doing a movie, I already had so much relationship with people around me. And
Right.
my premiere with my thesis film was the most attended premiere because of
Wow.
Circassians, because everyone
Wow.
came from New Jersey. I mean, it was actually kind of funny for those people who were there. Going, oh, Lisa, and look, Lisa's on the call. Laszlos, she was my production manager, producer, everything.
Wow.
She was everything because she was also into filmmaking. Now she's also a post-production producer. I think maybe even something more these days. But we did it
Mm.
together. I knew her because I was Circassian. And we had so many people in the theater. And as soon as my film came on, because I don't know if anyone's been to like the festivals. If you have a short film, they play all of them back to back, and they have them in blocks. And typically, what you do is you stay through the block, and then you leave whatever block you're in. She has head of production. I'm going to correct myself. Lisa is now head of production, no longer a post-production producer, which is absolutely. She knows how excited I am about that, and I congratulate her all the time because she was a ferocious producer on these films and a serious ally and partner. So I love you, Lisa. Thank you so much for everything
Amazing.
you did for me, and and um, and when as soon as my thesis film was done, uh, Circassians is not going to sit around through the rest of them. Like the entire the entire movie theater kind of like stood up
Oh,
and like left,
wow.
and then I remember there's these two elder people in there. They're like, "Oh my God, he brought the whole village." They literally said as we're walking out, and we all just left the theater. It's like the theater went in protest of,
Wow.
of the movie, but it wasn't like that at all. It's just they're like, all right, we saw Murad's film. Why are we going to stay here any longer?
Right.
But they don't
Right.
understand that. But I look at it and I'm like, I'm so lucky for this. Like, I'm
Oh.
so lucky to have this around, and I think we as a culture can also do a lot better on on identifying this and being acceptant to being having weaknesses, having flaws. It is so important to me that people talk about mental health and talk about it because it was some of the darkest times of my life,
Right.
and I've gotten so much better from it because of that community I found when I was in New Jersey, and so you have to realize that I think all Circassians can do better at outreach and going to another state, living in another country for a little. If you have, obviously, it's harder for everyone, but
Of
like
course.
do that job. Like go out there and see if you can. If you have the opportunity, live outside of your culture for a little bit, or live outside of the state you grew up in for a little bit, and you learn. I've met if anyone from California, someone screenshot this and put it in a group chat at work that I'm on this. And like, but look at that. That's my friend. Like I made all these amazing friends in California too, and I learned so much about them and myself from that experience. And I realized I'm like, wow, it's a double-edged sword growing up Circassian, for all the reasons I just said. And I think one edge needs to do better at like we need to go out there. We need to like experience other people's lives, especially in New Jersey. It feels
Right.
like sometimes you just never you don't have to leave, and we all just like congregate within the 15-mile radius of the CBA. And like when we want to go down the
Lovingly.
shore or something, it's like that's a lot really far. Let's go to the beach. I'm like,
Yeah.
and like we can't even like think about let's go visit Boston. Let's just go visit Chicago or
Right.
something like that. So I think this question is great. I think for those of you listening, it's so important to talk about mental health. And I had this experience at work, and then I'm going to end. I don't want to ramble on this, but I had this friend at work, and I would talk to. He's like, it's like I'm gonna be late tomorrow. I'm gonna be in at 10:30, and he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I have therapy."
Oh.
And he's like, "Oh," and like, I would always tell him like, "No, no, I'm going to therapy." And for those people who don't know therapy, it's really like you're just talking to someone the whole time, a doctor that's
Right.
unpacking you. But it's kind of exciting because we're in Circassian culture. It feels like anyone you talk to, it's like it's just gonna get out. Those people saw my big fat Greek wedding, you know, like, everyone knows each other. Everyone's
Right.
just like they want to find out some information so your mom can gossip about it, and So it's always like, what was she wearing at that wedding? Or like, did you see what he did? This is like just my big fat Greek wedding is like, if it changes my big fat Circassian wedding, not much changes, of those two movies. But
Right.
at the same time, that makes you like, you don't often talk to people that have no connection to your background. Like,
Right.
right. So when you go to therapy, when I was going to therapy, I was like, I couldn't believe I could talk to this person. And that like, they have no idea about anything about me, any of my family, any relation to my, any connection to that gets back to them. And you just openly talk about your fears and your point of view. And it's healthy. It's so amazingly invigorating. Just let it all out. Like, the things that you didn't want to talk about before that you can talk about now with someone that is trying to help you get through it, and also give you solutions and present an objective point of view about it. And that tied back to this, when I was saying that my this editor on my team, this designer on my team, he, one time we were going up to a company party. He might be watching. I don't know if he is. I'm not going to say his name for that reason. If he, and he we were all going to go. We were all going to go up. It was a company party for some launch, and he wasn't getting up, and I was like, well, let's go upstairs. They're having the party, and he's like, and he just started crying,
Oh,
and I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, he was going through depression,
oh,
and I saw my other guys and the other designers in the pit. I winked at them. They understood. I'm like, and then we were talking. He's like, you just talk so openly about it, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah. I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, I didn't want to seem like I'm like, yeah, look how cool I am. No, I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, what? And we just talked for a little bit, and I gave him like, yeah, you go on your insurance, you look for this, and just don't be. The hardest part is like getting to do it and stuff, but just being talking about it. The moral of the story is just me talking about it openly. Where I was like, yeah, I'm going to therapy. I was depressed before. I'm like, I'm better now, but I still like I still go to a therapist. I still talk to someone, and getting them the courage to do that and remove that fear, it helped so much. And he was so happy. Like, it seems like it's so easy for you. I'm like, it wasn't. It is absolutely not easy. I said it's, maybe it seems easier now, but that's not what I'm trying to say. And so if I can help that one person not be afraid of it, because if you get, like I said, you get a flu, you get a cold, you say it out loud. If you're
right,
sad, you can't. Why can't you? Why can't people say they're sad? I
right.
don't know, and we need to change that. So can culture help? Yes. I think us as Circassians, we can all tell each other when we're sad. We can all tell each other when we're a little bit more sad, and when we're not feeling right about something, when we're not feeling right about something that was being told to us, or something that's being preached to us. It's okay to have an open dialogue and debate about it, and get through it, rather than forcing perspective, forcing that. So just like anything in life, there's a balance. And I think we can use our culture in a way that empowers us, makes us more accepting and outreaching, and not try to be any too much exaggerated in one direction, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I run another page. I run a parenting page that I've had for some time now, a couple years. And on that page, I share a lot of more of a mom feelings, sort of how I'm
Mhm.
raising my kids. It's very
Mhm.
emotional being a parent.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I share a lot of that stuff on there. And something that I say every once in a while, I think is perfectly in line with what you're saying. You reminded me of something that I say,
Mhm.
which is when I was younger, I used to think that me stuffing my feelings down or forcing
Me
myself to
too.
feel only happy or only angry was brave or
Mhm.
tough, like a toughness.
Mhm.
And I could not have been more wrong,
Yeah.
because eventually those things catch up to you. Life
Mhm.
catches up to you, your feelings catch up to you, and you get
Mhm.
to a point where you're not able to just do that anymore.
Mhm. It was happening. Yep.
And the bravest thing I've ever done is just to let myself feel things and
Yeah.
let myself cry and
Yeah.
talk about what's bothering me. It's
Mhm.
so hard to
Healthy.
be
It's so
vulnerable and
hard.
open,
It's so hard.
but like,
Yeah,
but it's
there's a
so
movie
brave.
Inside Out about
And
this. If
and
anyone's not seen that Pixar film Inside Out, it's literally
right,
about this. That where it's telling
right,
children it's okay to be sad, and you cannot be happy if you're not sad. Like, you can't have
right,
it one way. And but as
right,
Circassians, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, yes, I'm so excited. I'm so proud to be Circassian and what it's given me out of being Circassian. At the same time, it can be toxic. It can be one-sided.
Right.
And I want to
Right.
ensure that like people see like that's where we are as a society. We're in a place where things are, especially growing up Circassian, where things are, you feel like you can't speak about it. You can't change
Yeah.
it. You can't have an opinion on it. And you said, remember, I don't know if you remember, like when I was a kid in the group, we used to get sometimes physically hit. Like we
Yeah.
used to get hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you were
Oh,
crying,
yeah.
that was like weakness. That was serious
Right.
weakness. And totally get it. And I'm like, yeah, at the time, I get that how that makes sense. Obviously, that wouldn't fly today, but like it's just coming from that time period and how they were raised, and but it grows in you. It's like you can't ever show weakness ever, and that's just creating like really polarizing people, and it
Right.
causes a lot of unhappiness. I think
Right.
in the world, and so much. Look at our world today. Look how polarized we are as in political views and religious views, and it's so much can be just helped and cured with communication, just talking to someone and talking to each other about these things. And even I have evolved so much on my views on things when I was growing up to now. And just as you said, it is this journey to kind of go through it. So I'm hi Georgia. So now see someone I met from California at work. From California.
So cool.
So many great people that you meet and you get to share your culture. Um, and exactly, if someone's saying we're not at war, I think when you're Circassian, sometimes you always are expected to think like you're at war. You're at war
Right.
with everyone. It's at war with assimilation, at war of losing identity. And I think we put too much focus on certain things, like you're not Circassian enough if you don't speak the language. I feel like this is such an
Oh,
unfair barometer on someone.
right.
Like you cannot expect everyone to speak an ancient language where they have no use for it in the country they're residing in. It's very hard to think that way. And I think everyone would love to speak Circassian fluently. Geez, I mean,
Right.
why wouldn't you, right? No one's choosing not to, but it's like this is
Right.
not a black and white situation, right?
Right.
So yeah, and look at like you've moved so much, and for those who are watching too, I don't know if you know, Nuda's quite the dancer too. Like she was like
I
a
was.
fierce dancer when she was in the group. Yeah, she was super good. Like someone to look up to, and she
Oh,
always
thank you
had the
so much.
solos. You know.
Ah, yeah, thank you so much,
She
Murad.
had great form and everything. So like look at how much you've moved, and now you're in Turkey. And I know Adam. Great guy. I saw him at
Thank
one
you.
of my jobs one time, unexpected. It was at E3, and I saw like a whole bunch of Circassians. That's what's so funny about that too. It's like even when we're working, we figure out a way to bring Circassians to events. And I was
Right.
just like, I would go to E3 and I could see like Khaled and all these guys from New Jersey, and
Right.
I'm like, because it was Farouk's event, but we were working. Farouk and I were
Right.
working, and I'm like, I just love this. I'm like, I love how we always figure out a way to get Circassians even into a private Xbox party in
Right.
E3.
Right.
We figured it out, right? And
Right.
I'm just that's the beauty of it, right? Though that's what I love about the culture. I love that about us as people, that we're always so willing to support one another. When people like, that's something that is like, some of my friends in California, like they find that so shocking, like that, like they have this network of people. So to everyone watching, and that will watch this, it's just don't forget about that. Don't forget about, if there's also Circassians that hate their culture, and they say like, because of
Absolutely.
the same reason that we are just saying, right? It is like, it feels like it's very hard on you
Yeah.
sometimes, and they don't want to be a part of it. I think, yeah, it is something that is hard. It's not easy and we're not perfect. But I wish everyone would just realize that that's just the reality of living life, and we only get through it together. We really only get through it together. So hopefully that's what we can continue moving forward with, is just being more accepting, speaking our minds, and healthy debate, healthy discourse, and not, being unafraid to be who you are, uh, be different, and celebrate the differences. So really,
I
really
love
hope
it.
so. Yeah.
I love it. Just one more thing, and then we'll wrap
Hmm.
it up and let you go on your day. But
Yeah.
um, Oh man, did I just forget what I was gonna say?
It'll come
Mm,
back. It will come back to you when we.
it'll
Do you
come
like?
back.
Do you like? Do you like? How's Turkey there though? For you, for being someone that's for someone that's like it's there's a lot of Circassians in Turkey, right? But
Yeah.
you're also jumping from nation to nation, state to state. How is that for you? Like in overall, like living there.
I mean, it's been the way you were talking about moving to California. That's
Hmm.
basically how the last year and a few months have been.
Hmm.
Um, I never left the States after we came when I was a child. So it's just been a very like a stage of growth for me. And I had a baby right before we came out here. So on
Oh,
top of
wow.
moving, I was also like now I'm a mom of two. Now I'm kind of navigating all
Yeah.
these like this new like stage of my life. So um it's been I've grown a lot. Because even
Yeah.
in
I've grown a
America,
lot too.
yeah, because even in America, if you move from East to West Coast, there are still things that you can carry
Sure.
that make
Sure.
sense to people you meet.
Hmm.
But like going from America to another country, people out here don't know Beastie Boys. You know what I mean? If I say, "Oh no, I love the Beastie Boys," if we get on the topic of music, unless they're an expat like myself, they're gonna be like, "Okay," like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
So who are you? Who are
For,
you? And
what? Mhm.
it really caused me to kind of strip away a lot of the fluffy stuff of who I am, and just kind of really force me to look at myself and say, what's important. And amazingly, this page kind of came out of that because out here everybody does know Circassians. Cherkez,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not a big
Yeah.
deal. So
That's
I've
that's
had the
incredible.
opportunity, yeah, I've had the opportunity to just kind of get like a different perspective, just kind of like it is so valuable just to leave the bubble. Once you
Yes,
start feeling comfortable,
really.
get out of there. Get out
Yeah.
of there.
Yeah, I
And
agree. And
just
not to get out of there. We're not telling you get out of there. Like, no, because it's going to help you just grow. It just helps you grow
yeah,
and be even more appreciative of your culture, and your
right,
background. You get to even connect with it in a different way that you hadn't connected with
right,
it before. Look at this page that you're doing. These are like the just what comes out of outreach and out of living outside that bubble for a little bit, and
right.
that's helped me a lot. One of the things I wanted to do is like start like a summer camp in like Southern California for like dance and just
Oh,
for fun. Like it's like an idea. I'm like, how great would that be where we have a summer camp for that kind of stuff,
so
and
fun.
where people can come together and celebrate who they are and have like little shows and just have that kind of identity. Like these are the kind of things that I really hope more of this happens in our culture and more people feel unafraid to try things outside of their community. This to me would be outside of my community because I never lived in Southern California and stuff like that. But
Right.
but and one thing I want to say about all this about the Circassian community and whatnot. When I was a coach, it taught me so much about myself too.
Mm.
I was like I said, I was 19 when I started. I think I was 22 when I left. And I think it was such a pivotal moment for me in how I got my career. I learned so much about. We had over 150 students at one point, and
Wow.
that was astounding to me that there was this many people out there that we had grown the group this way for something that I was running as a just a head coach, but I had an amazing group of dancers that were helping me teach the kids and everything too. But it's like the CBA felt so alive from the dancing group. Every Friday, every Saturday, the Adika Kitchen would like say like we miss when you guys don't have practice because
Oh,
the CBA feels empty. And I would tell them that every one of them like you guys are the heart of this building. I said when you're
right.
not here, no one's here. And then when they're there, there's people watching. There's people coming to visit from other countries that were wanting to watch because they heard about this. And for me, it was like I learned so much about how to lead people and how to deal with intense situations at a very young age. It was very toxic at times. Like I was very
Yeah,
young and I didn't know how to deal with it.
right.
But then it prepared me for it in my professional life, and how also taught me so much about respect and helping other people and teaching other people, learning how people receive feedback and how to give feedback versus how I'm getting feedback too. I think I credit so much of that to the dancing group and that my time coaching there.
Right.
where I'm in stressful situations a lot. And I said, you know what's the most stressful situation? Being on stage.
Mm-hmm.
When you're backstage and you have all these amazing volunteers that are helping change, like my last performance, New Dawn, was I think we counted 19 numbers, and it was just with the older
Oh,
group, 19
wow.
dances and songs, and between the kids we had our own separate show. So 19 dances and 19 different costume changes, and I said, that prepared me. You cannot prepare me anymore for any crazier situation than trying to make sure that there's this many dances going on, that we're not letting the audience wait. We used to practice changing at the CBA. We used to practice getting into clothes and see how we would time it.
Right.
Because I would say, like, if we all take a moment of silence right now, let's listen and feel how long 10 seconds feels and how awkward it is. And we would like time ourselves to change as quickly as we can. And some of you
Right.
have massive dress rehearsals, as you would know. It's like we have rehearsals, but like, Broadway shows, for instance, they go into like months of previews to like
Mm.
iron everything out uh, before they go into like selling tickets and actually premiering the show. But so we're like, we're gonna have one day, and then we're gonna figure it out the day of, you know, and one day rehearsal, and
Have
like
a good
that's it. Yeah, that's it. And good luck, guys. And so I'm like, so when I look at that, I'm like, I'm prepared for anything now. And I did 3 shows. I think we did like, no, three. We did like 2 adult shows that were massive. And then like when you consider all the theater shows, it was like definitely over 5. And
Wow.
that's, I'm talking about shows, but we performed New Dawn in multiple shows, but like it was so intense. It was like, and I told the dancers, I'm like, unless anyone's on fire, no one come talk to me, because like it's gonna happen. Whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. We have a committee. We have
Right.
stagehands that we're all in this together, and there are things that are gonna go wrong, but that helped me deal with life. It helped me in my
Right.
professional career in so many ways, and I got to learn. I use it as like an avenue of artistic expression too, right?
Right.
It's impossible to do art without like putting yourself in it a little bit, and you learn so much about yourself in that way. And I got to figure out, this is how I'm trying to like implement my idea, but also listening to other people's ideas, and like understanding that maybe I'm wrong sometimes. And I think I was never the perfect coach. And so many people, like I know you're saying, people recommended me to come on, and I look at so
Right.
many of the mistakes I think I made along the way,
Right.
and then I realized, like, yeah, well, you're gonna make some mistakes. Everyone's gonna make mistakes, and I always tell my dancers, now that looking back on it, that they were just so tremendous, and they that we will walk away from those years never forgetting, as you've said, on your dancing years, like you just never forget those moments,
Right.
and it's so true for me. And I always will want to think, I could have done this better, I could have given this better attention, looked at that person more, and there's only so much you can control and so much you can be aware of it at the moment. But I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud of everyone. I'm really more proud of this everyone walking away and having the same friends they did during that time period. I think that is like some of the most warming memories to me today, is looking
Right.
at these people. Its 10-year anniversary was just in January. I cannot believe that, of my last show. And I go to the CVA and I see the same dancers I taught
Oh,
helping the kids. And I see the same dancers and the same group of friends, and people that have been in the group that got married and like they have kids. That's so weird to me to see. Like, it's crazy. Like seeing that, like these people that we used to change together and now they're married and they have kids. It's so
yeah.
amazing. It's so
Yeah.
incredible to see that this is all formed from something that you had the opportunity and the honor to be a part of as a coach. And I could not have done any of that without all those tremendous individuals that signed
Amazing.
up every day, sweat 5 days a week, and we go to Akba. What I want to say about that dancing group is like, where segues into, look, we keep talking. It's like there was a shy dance group in Paterson, New Jersey, and I didn't know about. It's called Akba,
Mm.
and anyone that's watching from there, you know, I couldn't believe there was another Kafkaz community center in New Jersey that I didn't know about, and that we hardly
Right.
talked. And I'm like,
Right.
I started to get the coach at the time. His name was Timur Jato. He was also a pianist, a fantastic pianist, and a fantastic musician and composer. And he composed all the music for my last show. And I had
Right.
him on stage playing, and we'd sometimes go practice after hall. when the CBA was rented out, and they
Amazing.
would come and we would borrow each other's fashion uniforms, fascist boots, and we worked together. And I remember it would turn heads sometimes that I would have all these Caucasians in the hall. And I was like, you know what? This is one of the things I'm not going to compromise on, right? That why are we not talking to these people? Like, this is like, we need to work together. And I'm so happy that that's changed actually completely now, where they do come around and we are celebrating each other way more than we used to. And we formed a partnership between the two groups. And when we were performing, when we were using the Aqaba Hall to dance in, I was so proud of this. I was so proud that we were utilizing each other's facilities to help us,
Amazing.
band together, and then seeing them use our fascists and we were using their fascists for certain dances, for their performance.
Oh,
And then
right.
all of us went to their show and they all came to our show. And I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, to me, this was like, that's, of
Yeah,
course you're going to do that.
right.
And why wouldn't you? And that was, to me, like, I'm so glad to see that all changing and us banding together, and still today that being like having a residual effect on our relationships with that community. That I could not have done that show without Timur, and also obviously the amazing people that were all part of the dancing group. But Timur was, I used to finish practice at midnight, and I would go to the studio, gear studio of Tamer or Peditor, and I'm loving them
Right.
too. And we would then go and start working on the music from like midnight to 6 in the morning, and literally the sun would rise, and we'd go to a
Wow.
diner, King George Parkway, and it's called now, and we'd have breakfast, and then I'd go to sleep, and then
Yeah.
like, and we would just sit there and we'd be listening to different instruments and like, no, let's try this with that. And he was such an integral part to why the music
Wow.
in that show was, one, very different and a little
Mm.
more classical in terms of instruments that we were using. I had a guitar in there, like a rock guitar in there one time for the finale. Like, these are all things that we were like kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to make
Yeah,
this a
yeah.
unique kind of show to represent what I wanted to be like. These are the American diaspora, right? And
Right.
you know what? We are also American. We are Circassian. We're also American, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And this country has given us a home, has given us a place to live, and a healthy place for our parents to grow and to go to get help when they're sick. All these kind of things, like, it's a part of our identity, we would like it or not. And I'm so grateful for all of that experience, and I think it's invaluable to where I am today in my career.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I did want to add, so in Turkey, in Istanbul anyways, I've been looking, I was looking up for a while different cultural centers for Circassians, for whatever. And I did learn that out here they do that, where they have cultural centers. Out here, the word Cherkez isn't just Circassian. A bunch of groups are grouped under Cherkez. So
Ah,
let's say if
interesting.
you're Dagestani,
Mm-hmm.
you can say you're Cherkez. If you're
Mm-hmm.
Chechen, you say you're Chechen, but you can
Mm-hmm.
say Cherkez too. Like, it kind of
Yeah.
works.
Mm-hmm.
And they have cultural centers where they do dancing and classes and all whatever, but it's mixed. It's like just
Yeah.
Caucasian, like the
Yeah.
Caucasus. Like, if you're from
Yeah.
there, you're welcome. And then
That's
I know
great.
that there are more specific ones,
Mm-hmm.
but there are so many actually, and you can basically take your pick, and whatever one you feel like works for you, you can kind of go that route. And that
Yeah.
kind of blew my mind in the same way, because how
Because
cool, you know?
used to, yeah, it's so cool at the same time. Like, I'd be scared, like, to in New Jersey, at the time it was like, it was a different time. Like, where it's like, it felt like
Yeah,
if we allowed anyone that was not specifically 100% Adika into the CBA and the dancing group, it'd be like, well, that's gonna just means that we're doomed. And I'm like, now you can look back on that and be like, oh, that was so silly. Like, that's so silly. And I'm like, and I'd find out that later, like, my friend as a Chechen father, I'm like, yeah, okay.
no,
Like, it's okay. Like, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, what does it matter? And yeah, I completely see that, and I see like how you learn that from being outside that bubble. And
yep.
I think that's why we all need to do more of that. And look, then one of my cousins, there's another person from California, just Paulo, I met at Telltale, and also my cousin from my cop. And the only reason we're even probably following each other on Instagram right now from my multiple trips to the
Oh,
Caucasus to see him
right.
and see
Yeah.
my family there. So that just goes to what we're just saying, and it's super super awesome to make all these new friends I see in this call. They're probably wondering like, what is he talking about? My friends in California, but like I just love that they're in here because of the curiosity of what I can. Hey, yes, hi.
Yeah.
It's just hearing what I'm having to say. Like another tremendous guy that I met that does. Paulo does amazing artwork, sick designs for Telltale when we were there, and I'm like, we still talk today. We still talk
That's
from
so cool.
knowing each other. And he did stuff for Roblox. You know, it's a small world in the sense that the people you meet, you do tend to carry them through life with you, and it makes you just so much more informed about other people's cultures when you form these bonds with people in other countries and other states and other backgrounds.
Right.
Trisha
Well, you know,
too.
something that I've kind of I've been letting roll around in my head a lot over the last few months is this concept of community.
Mhm.
And you know, community can be a very restrictive, small, almost bad word. But when you start to expand your idea of community and you start to allow more people into your idea of community, community becomes such a strong, empowering, beautiful word that you can just kind of fall back on. And it's not just the hi, it's not just the word, it's not just the word, you know, they're people. And
Yeah,
your community, you know, it's just a fascinating thing. So I totally am
yeah.
for that.
I
I
mean,
mean, I've been
look at other communities when they have like a culture day, right? You know, like
Mhm.
A Turkish day and
Right.
you know, Italian day, and they're using that opportunity to meet people and form like share their community with everyone else.
Right.
And I think like we should do more of that. Like we should be doing outreach to other cultures in that regard too. So community is just a word to describe you know, people all sharing in some kind of identity. And one of the identities,
Human
friendship,
experience.
human
Right.
experience, you know, that is community. And your heritage, yes, is the soul. It could be a soul of that community, but it's not it doesn't define everything that a community can be.
Right.
You will always hold on to that identity as an individual, and that strength, that passion, it's in all of us as individuals. And as long as you don't lose sight of that, and you're proud of it, and how you utilize your culture is subjective, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to be binding to all of you, and a heritage as a heritage, but it doesn't define everything about you. There is going to be other things in life that you have to take in with it, and if how you utilize what you do with that is up to you, and only a community center, these kind of events, that's what's going to empower it, but it's not going to drive all of it. It's really up to you. It's really up to the individual. So the more we realize that, implementing our worldviews and our as a community, we think this is the only way to get it done, and this is the way that it must be. It's actually been, I think, more hurtful than it has been beneficial as a culture, and I hope that we as a people can continue to drive forward with the right mentality, and
Right.
before it's too late. But I don't think, like, I look at how many people Circassians are now in New Jersey. I look at these weddings, massive. You can't have weddings at the CBA anymore. I mean, you can, but it's going to be packed.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thing to see how much it's grown in the USA alone, and that they're still dancing and they're still going to the CBA. It has its you know, its peaks and valleys. I think in terms of, especially with COVID, it was very difficult. But in
I
general,
know.
you see a good trajectory, I think, and how we form our lives and form our connections with the people around us. So I hope that continues going, and all these people watching, like, this is so tremendous. All you people listening to us, I'm so happy you guys are here, and thank you so much, Nuan, too, for doing this. I think this is such a
Of
great thing,
course.
and wherever you all are from, and some of you I can recognize, some I don't. It's a pleasure to meet you. Please feel free to message anytime, and say hi. And yeah, this was super great, though. Unless there's another question, I'm happy to answer it.
Nope. You got all your questions. Thank you so much, Murad. I was gonna say buddy.
That's okay,
Thank
buddy,
you
too.
so
And thank you so much, Noor.
thank you so much
Please
for
say hi
your
to your family.
time.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God,
I will.
your children. Please say hi
Thank
to
you so
everyone.
much.
Much love to all of you. Much love to everyone that joined us.
Thank
It's
you.
been tremendous, and anyone from Roblox. I don't have any Robux for you. I'm sorry. I get those a lot on Instagram, but you can still say hi, and I'll say hi to you too. And thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear. I hope you had a good time. I'm so happy with all the interaction that we had in this one.
Yeah.
Guys, just before I close this conversation, if you are not Circassian and you are from the Caucasus or have lineage to directed towards the Caucasus, please reach out. I would love to open this page, these interviews to people who
Hmm.
are Georgian, Azeri, Lesbian,
Yeah, that's great.
everything, guys. English, everybody.
Yeah,
Chechen. I want to hear from everybody, okay?
yeah.
I
Please, that'd be
appreciate
so awesome.
every single person who's following me. So thank you again,
Yeah.
Murad. Good, like everybody said, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Also, you please say hi to your family for me, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.